Welcome back to Book Break. I have got a very, very special guest with me today. Hello. You may remember George Lester. You have featured on Book Break in the past.
I have, yes.
George is here in many capacities. He used to work at Macmillan. He is one of our authors. He is a booktuber.
Oh.
It's just fantastic having you here. So today we are going to talk about gay books.
Gay books.
Basically, yeah. So we did a video before, which I will link to below, on books about women who love women. So I thought I would bring George in to help me with a video on books about men who love men.
Know the brand, deliver at all times.
So why don't you kick us off? We've got a big selection of books
we really
here.
do. We have to motor through these.
But I think you should start by telling us about your book.
Oh, me? This old thing? I wrote so Boy Queen by me, George Lester. It came out in August 2020. It's the story of a teenage boy called Robin Cooper who, after getting rejected from every drama school in the country, discovers the art of drag and a potential sparklier path ahead of him. My pitch line, which I will never not be proud of, is that it's RuPaul's Drag Race meets Dumpling by Julie Murphy by way of Gilmore Girls. So it's like, here are 3 things I love, smushed into a book.
3 things that everyone loves, smushed into a book.
How can you not? Yeah. So it's available now where all books are sold, all being well.
I'm going to start with a sad one. So this is a bit of a contrast to the really joyful one that you just told us about. But this is Young Mungo by Douglas Stewart. Douglas Stewart is the author of Shaggy Bane, which won the Booker Prize. This is his next book. And it is a story about it's a love story between 2 boys, James and Mungo. And it's kind of a Romeo and Juliet story, forbidden love. So Mungo is Protestant, James is Catholic. They live between 2 housing estates in Glasgow in this really kind of hyper-masculine world where they're supposed to be sworn enemies. The young men have kind of divided themselves into sects, and if you're going to be a man at all, they are supposed to be fighting these territorial battles. But that's not what they want to do. They want to fall in love, which is what they have done.
I need to read this book so much.
It is a sad one, but it is about Mungo kind of trying to fight for a future where him and James can be safe to be themselves.
You're coming home with me.
Yeah, there you go. That one's for you.
That's for me. Okay, so we're going to jump from sad to happy once again.
Excellent.
With You're the One That I Want by Simon James Green. This, I was lucky enough to read this quite early last year, and then I got to talk to Simon at his launch event. This is a story about a boy called Freddie who ends up being part of a high school production of Grease. Hence the title.
Amazing.
And this appeals to me for so many reasons. 1, I'm a musical theatre actor and a musical theatre nerd. And 2, who didn't have a high school production of Grease while they were at school? I choreographed mine.
Did you?
I did. It was so camp. And
I was in the beauty school dropout scene of mine.
Of course. So it was really random. I choreographed it. And then somehow, I don't know how this happened exactly, I was working the follow spot as well.
Ooh.
It was jack of all trades, master of none. As you may have established from all the things that I do. But it's so funny. It's so light. It's references for days, weeks, months. It's absolutely stunning. For anyone who's not read Simon James Green before, you're in for a queer, rainbow-tastic, laugh-out-loud funny treat with whichever one of his books you pick up. This just happens to be his most recent. His new one, I think, comes out this summer and is just as rainbow-tastic and fabulous.
Amazing. Well, that one's coming from
That's good.
So this one is a magical one, A Marvellous Light by Freya Marske. I absolutely loved this. This is set in an alternate Edwardian England where magic is real, but secret. And there is a whole branch of the government that's devoted to kind of magical correspondence. So we've got 2 main characters. One of them is a young man from a really posh family, and he gets assigned to this job in the government, but by mistake, because he didn't know magic was real. And suddenly he's like, what is going on? There are wizards and witches everywhere. And then our other main character, who is the love interest, is a man from an old British magical family, but he doesn't have as much magic, seemingly, as the rest of his family. So they think he's a bit useless. And it's just so much fun. So they get caught up in this whole massive conspiracy, and it's set in manor houses and magical mazes that are trying to kill them. And there's a lot of very steamy scenes in here. It's just fantastic. And the way that the magic works is really cool. It's kind of like Cat's Cradle.
Oh my god. Okay, stunning.
Fantastic.
This cover as well. I'm utterly obsessed. It's
and
beautiful.
This is the first in a series, so there's going to be more. We get to follow them.
So the next book I'm going to talk about is Surrender Your Sons by Adam Sass. This is one that I read during one of the lockdowns. Who knows which one?
There's been so many.
But this is about a boy called Connor Major who expects his coming out to be this wonderful, magical thing, as we see in lots of major media, books, TV, all that fun stuff. But it ends up being a complete nightmare, and he ends up being sent to a conversion therapy camp on an island just off the coast of, I think it's off the coast of South America somewhere. It's haunting and terrifying. But also this gorgeous story of found family and owning your own queerness, and it's one of those books that you have to stay up, and you reach a point in the book where you've got to stay awake. You've got to stay awake and you've got to finish it, otherwise you will be having nightmares about Miss Manners. But it's an utterly fantastic book. It still manages to still be darkly funny at the same time as being utterly horrifying. Ding.
I love that. Ticks all the boxes. This next one has been huge. This is Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. So this is a love story between the Prince of Wales and the President's son. Okay. And the Prince of Wales in this book is Ginger and is called Prince Henry.
I wonder who it's based on. That's so random.
So it's just completely made up. Total fictional character. And the President's son, the President in this book is a woman, and I am choosing in my head to picture her as AOC.
Oh my God, please, I would love that.
So that's the pairing. But when this book starts, UK-US relations have got a little bit rocky because these two sons were pictured having an altercation, and so to smooth things over, they're told to have a fake friendship. But you can see where this is going. Their fake friendship is going to turn into something more.
See, I've not read this. This is one of those ones that's everyone has read, and it's one of those ones where it's it's so hyped that I'm I need to. Do I need to? And I think I need to.
I think you need to.
Next up, I have How It All Blew Up by Arvin Ahmadi. This is about a boy called Amir Azadi who, after his coming out doesn't go quite how he wants it to, or he's about to be outed, he, on the day of his graduation, gets on a flight to Rome and lives this fabulous Italian summer romance kind of situation. All the while, this is told in befores and afters. So we're hearing this story being told while he is in a detention centre at an airport. So he's sort of having to tell this story, and we're getting things from his perspective, from his mum, from his dad, from his sister, all of these things that have happened all the while. So it's kind of jumping back and forth. It's so interesting. It's so gorgeous. And at a time when, this I know I read in January 2021, and at a time when you couldn't go anywhere, I was take me to Rome! So It's gorgeous. This
is another book that has been huge and beloved, Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. So this is about Simon Snow, who is a magician at the Watford School for Magic, and his roommate is a vampire called Baz. And Simon Snow is the chosen one. So according to this ancient prophecy, he's going to be the chosen one, and Baz thinks that he is the worst chosen one to ever be chosen. So we've got an enemies to lovers situation that's going to develop. This is really fun and kind of tongue-in-cheek. You'll see where a lot of the inspirations came from in this, but it manages to turn them all combined into something brand new. And again, this is a whole series, so you can keep following Simon and Baz and see where their love takes them.
Yes, and it was it first featured in Fangirl. It was the little this was the fan fiction that is it Kath was writing. This was the fan fiction she was writing. So.
Yes, yeah, really fun little twist there. So if you read Fangirl and you wanted more of those chapters, you can have more of those chapters. It's here.
So I'm going to jump into a graphic novel next.
Ooh.
This is an underrated banger that was recommended to me, funnily enough, by someone who worked here. It originally existed online, and this is Check Please by Ngozi Ukazu. This is Stay with me. So this is about hockey. It's about a hockey team and this boy called Eric Bittle who moves to this college and starts to play with the hockey team. He's a figure skater, and so, you know, obviously figure skater, cannot ice skate, goes and plays hockey. But he also bakes. So it's like a combination of this, like, him being this soft boy who is in this, like, quite masculine sport and living with all of these, like, proper, like, hockey bros. But they all end up being really soft and really, really lovely. It's just so gorgeous, and there's a romance at the heart of it as well.
So I'm now going to break that really happy streak that we've been on with A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara, which is not a happy book.
That is a little weapon, is
So
what that is.
that's exactly what it is. This is another book you will have heard talked about. It's a very beloved book. It's a divisive book. It is a heartbreaking book. I absolutely love it. So this follows Jude, a young man, and his group of friends kind of through the decades as they grow up. But the main relationship in there is Jude and his best friend, Willem. And we start by, they have this really kind of strong, compelling friendship to read about. And then through the years, that then does naturally evolve into a romantic relationship. And I found those parts of the book just so lovely to read about. Because there's a lot of sadness in here. Jude has a lot of trauma from his past. And so those are the sections that make this book really hard to read. And that's what you will have seen people crying on TikTok over. But there is hope and lightness in this book as well, and I found that all of that kind of revolves around this love between Jude and Willem. Whether it's the friendship or later on what it turns into, it's both just really beautiful.
Oh, see, that's really nice to hear, because like what I've mostly heard about this book, the reason I have not yet read this book, apart from the fact that it is an absolute weapon, is the fact that like everyone is like, it's literally the saddest book you will ever read, and I was like, that's not how you sell to me. So actually hearing that there's like hope and light in it is quite nice.
I thought so, yeah. I mean, it is the saddest.
Yeah. Make no mistake, you will cry.
But there's whole big sections that are really lovely and full of love.
I'm jumping back on the happy route. I think I've ended up with more happy books than anything else. If you've not heard of this, I don't know where you've been, but Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. It's literally just probably, by the time this goes up, I imagine, will have just started on Netflix. I probably will have binged it and cried my little gay eyes out at it at this point. But Heartstopper by Alice Oseman is the story of Nick and Charlie, who originally featured in Alice's debut YA novel, Solitaire, and slowly but surely kind of built this cult fandom of their own, beginning with a novella called Nick and Charlie, and then very quickly expanding into the Heartstopper series on Tumblr, and then suddenly into print. It's the gorgeous story of how the two of them met, how Nick discovered his sexuality, how they both help each other become the best versions of themselves. There's 4 volumes of it so far, with a 5th one on the way, I think next year. Every time a new one comes out, I start again and just read them all and just kind of soak up the gorgeous atmosphere of it, the gorgeous characters. Like, 'cause it's not just about Nick and Charlie, you have all of their friends as well. Even the teachers have like side plots going on that you're just like so invested in. Alice has a gorgeous way of creating very clear-cut, very gorgeous characters that you just want to be friends with. So there is a heavy the romance is what is the main focus of this book, but in all of this it's kind of also about like your found family and the people that make you your best you.
Yeah.
We love Alice!
My next book, I actually don't have a physical copy with me, which is a shame because it's a really nice, colourful cover that I'll put here.
Oh my god, it's so beautiful!
It's so pretty. This is Paul Takes the Form of a Mortal Girl by Andrea Lawler. So this is unlike anything I've ever read before, this book. Paul is a shapeshifter who can change his body at will and change his gender along with that. And so the book takes you on this kind of exploration. It's set in the 90s, and it takes you through so many different queer scenes, different queer spaces, kind of all across 90s America. It's so much fun. It's really bizarre, it's really funny, and kind of through that journey, Paul has different relationships with women. He has lesbian relationships with women, he has gay relationships with men, so it explores the different types of love between people, including love between men, kind of through a gender fluid lens. Really, it's really cool.
So the next book I'm going to talk about is one, if you have read Boy Queen, first of all, thank you. If you liked it. If you didn't like it, I'm sorry. But if you liked that, or you didn't, what you'll really like is The Black Flamingo by Dean Atter. I'm so good at pitching my own work. So The Black Flamingo by Dean Atter is the story of a boy called Michael. This takes him from birth right up to when he's at university. It is a novel in verse. It is quite possibly one of the most beautiful and like poignant things I've ever read. Dean is a genius. It's a beautiful story of a boy discovering the art of drag and discovering their gender and playing with that and playing with their own queerness, which I think would probably resonate with an awful lot of people. I know it resonated with me. And if you want more books about drag, here is another. And this one is utterly mind-blowingly good.
And just to go full circle on that, Dean Atta described your book as full of fun, sass and heart. Hang on to your wig because it'll be snatched.
Snatched.
Next I've got Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. So this one is a ghost love story. It's about a man called Wallace who has just died and he's not very happy about it. But he gets taken to a tea shop on the edge of the afterlife where he meets a man called Hugo who promises to help him over to the other side. And then it becomes a romance between these two. And it's not, despite being fantasy, it's not very heavy on the fantasy. There's magical stuff throughout it, but it's sort of, a lot of it is just set in this lovely little tea shop, and it's these characters having conversations about life and about grief. So it's this really sweet, heartwarming love story that develops between the two of them.
The sprayed edge on that is absolutely stunning. Okay, so the next one we're going to talk about is Hideous Beauty by William Hussey, which, again, this is a proof cover, but this is one of the most stunning covers. I'm living for the neon. I think it's gorgeous. This is a gay crime thriller novel, which I feel like we don't come across very often.
Yeah, need more of that.
Need more of those. But this is the story of a boy called Dylan who, I don't know how much I can say without giving it all away, really. He's in a secret relationship with a boy called Ellis. Some things happen, and something very bad happens, and Dylan needs to investigate. That's where I'm going to go. It's very good. It's one of those, I was reading that, I specifically remember finishing this on the tube. I was sat on, are we ready for this? I was sat on the Piccadilly line, and I was just like here, and I kind of got to the end, and I was like you know when you're just having like an out-of-body experience of like, you want to talk to someone about it, but no one in the carriage knows what you've just done. You're just reading it and you're like, oh my God.
That sounds very intriguing. So something happens.
Something
else mysterious happens.
Exactly.
Oh,
it's the worst book pitch ever, but it's like something mysteriously happens and then something else happens and then there's an investigation and it's gay. Go!
I will read that. So my last one, something a little bit different, but actually it's relevant because you were just saying about gay crime thrillers. So this is City of Vengeance by D.V. Bishop. The romance side of this is not a big part of the story, but I wanted to include it anyway because I think this is really cool. This is set in Florence in 1536, and our main detective, who's called Cesare Aldo, is gay. And so the romance is just a tiny bit of the story, but I loved that D.V. Bishop was going back and acknowledging that gay people existed in a time when they weren't acknowledged, they weren't allowed.
It probably wasn't the Pride Festival.
Exactly. Yeah. So I love that D.V. Bishop is saying, hang on, it doesn't matter that we weren't being talked about at the time. Yeah. Men who loved men have always existed. And so he wrote this character into what is otherwise a historical crime mystery. Really exciting. So I love that, and I'd like to see a lot more of that.
I love like incidental queers, like when it's, I mean, I love a gay romance as exhibited by all of the books that I have brought for you today, but like something where it's like the main focus of the book is like, this is a detective novel, this is a fantasy novel, this is this, and there's like, oh, and they're gay. I like that. It's like a little something extra.
Because that is how life works.
I mean, I was about to say, I'm an actor and a drag queen and gay, but like, I mean, that's also a cliche. I'm a walking, talking cliche. So the last book I'm going to talk to you about is one that I had massive struggles getting my hands on this. I think I bought it from Gaze the Word, which is like my favourite bookshop in London.
Yeah, amazing place.
And it was one of those ones where it was just kind of waiting for them to get it back in stock because it would arrive and someone would just nab it. And that is Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas.
I have some breaking news. This just in. Cemetery Boys is no longer going to be as hard to get hold of as George just described because we are publishing it this August. Okay, now let George convince you to buy it.
This is the story of Yadriel, who is a trans male, and his family are struggling with the idea of his gender identity. They are a family of people who summon ghosts and help them pass on to the other side. It's part of like their family ritual. And wanting to prove themselves, Yadriel summons a ghost, and it ends up being the ghost of school bad boy Julian Diaz, but he will not go to death quietly. So hijinks ensues. It's fantastic. It's amazingly funny at the same time as being like quite a lovely fantastical adventure with a lovely blossoming romance at the heart of it, which is difficult when one of you is a ghost, but it's gorgeous. It's absolutely stunning. I mean, I wanted it because everyone had said how good it was, and because the cover looks like that.
Yeah.
And then it just ended up being so much more than like I ever thought it could be.
So there you go, that was a selection of some books about men who love men, and we would love to know your suggestions. Do put them in the comments below of any books that you would like to recommend to us, or which of those you're kind of most excited about picking up.
I feel like we could have gone on for ages. I think we both ended up like not including
had to do some culling. Yeah, we could have been here for hours. But thank you so much to George for coming back. I will link below to George's booktube channel and also to where you can buy Boy Queen.
Yay!
So do have a look there. And I will also link here to the video that we made before on books about women who love women, so you can click through and watch that one next. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Bye!